What is up, everybody? How's it going? My name's Ezra, and I'm here to share with you some footage that I have from my recent trip to Ireland. Hope you enjoy.
All right, so this is me in the back seat. My brother's driving, and that's my dad in the passenger seat. This is us in Ireland. Obviously, it is quite new to us to drive on the left side of the road. So we arrived at Dublin Airport in the late morning. As we were driving to Galway, we decided we really needed to get some food. We visited the historic town of Athlone. So that's my brother. He's basically the tour guide. What are your thoughts on day one?
It's hailing.
It is hailing. It is June 5th or 6th or something like that, and it's hailing. Ben, what do you have to say for yourself for putting us in this situation? The River Shannon flows right alongside Athlone, making Athlone one of the most important crossing points in Ireland. It is quite cold. Quite cold. And of course, we couldn't wait too long to get a Guinness. This is us inside Sean's bar. It interestingly has a sign outside saying it's Marie's, but that belonged to a previous licensee. So this is us having our first Guinness after we braved that terrible weather. And this is us at Athlone Castle. This was built in the 1200s to control the River Shannon, one of the most important crossing points in Ireland. It saw serious action during the 1691 siege and the Williamite War, where defenders literally blew up the bridge to hold the line. It's not huge, of course, but its location made it a major strategic spot for centuries. All right, and just like that, we're across the country from Dublin. We are in Galway. I was really excited to be here. I honestly like Galway a lot more than Dublin. It just had that really nice European feel to it. We're here in the Latin Quarter, had the cobblestone streets, had beautiful old buildings, had newer buildings with pops of color. You'll hear in a second. Really close, we have this street performer here. I mean, like clockwork, they're out there all the time on multiple different corners. It was just wonderful.
If the weather's permitting, e-bike would be the best way to see this place. I think it's worth doing.
Historically, Galway mattered a lot. It was a major port city, not just in a regional way. For centuries, it traded directly with Spain, France, and the Mediterranean. The city is known for the 14 tribes of Galway, which were the merchant families, mostly Anglo-Norman, who controlled the city for generations. They built it into a little powerhouse of trade and culture. You still see their names on street signs and plaques. Over time, like the rest of Ireland, Galway ended up pulled in the whole cycle of British control, rebellion, and redefinition. But it held on to its own thing, and now it feels like a city that's been through a lot but never really lost its voice. There's just this underlying creative energy, music, language, art, that makes it feel younger than it actually is.
Other things that are similar to this. Either way you cut it, an hour and get there. This will be nice. It's a ferry ride for $50 per person. And then when we get there, we'll have to spend. I think we do it. I think that you're here. I think this gets all the boxes. So I can make sure this we'll get that sit down and dinner. I didn't hear a thing he said.
What is rather notable about Ireland is that You arrive and you could instantly just dive right into the culture. At some points, it feels very American. At other points, it feels very European. I'm actually very fortunate to be finishing up my family medicine residency within the next week or so. I have not been to Europe before this. I've always felt like it would take more than a week, more than the time I'm allotted during residency to really get into and to enjoy Europe. But I was pleasantly surprised by how I was able to sink my teeth in, enjoy the trip, enjoy the culture in just, 5 days or so. It is really quite remarkable. And we are back on the road. Day 2. Nothing like it. Here we are in Galway. First we had to get an Americano. Had to hit up a swanky bakery that had a long line outside. But we're happy to be here. We were headed to the Aran Island ferry. That's me with the beloved Americano. We were headed to the island of Inishmore, which is the biggest island. The biggest Aran Island, rather. It is the one most poised for tourism. Hold on to your hats. We're in the Atlantic, not the Long Island Sound. This is no easy ferry. We're on top of the Aran Island ferry, hitting the waves. At the end of the day, it was definitely tolerable. Made you a little bit seasick, but that's okay. We're pulling up to the island of Inishmore, and we are excited. So as I said before, Inishmore is the largest of the Aran Islands. It's about 9 miles long, 2 miles wide, and mostly made of limestone. People have lived here for thousands of years. Currently, there's about 700 people living here full time. There's a school, a couple pubs, a small grocery store, a bank that's apparently open about 2 days a week.
After them, then you got a tribe called the Toidadanum, and the Vikings paid us a visit around the 11th century. So there was a lot of battles on the island. You know, the Cromwellians came out here, and the islands were under English rule for over 300 years. These old houses now, they're dying out slowly but surely. There's not too many of these left once upon a time.
All right, and this is what I believe is called Champol Kieran. It's an ancient church built by some Christian monks back in the day. It's also obviously a place where people were buried. And this is us at the bottom of Dunangasa, which is the main attraction of the island of Inishmore. People got up here mostly, like us, on buses or shuttles. However, you could also opt to take an electric bike, but that seemed to be a bit tiresome. Alright, and obviously not the easiest terrain to go up. However, that might be the point. Dunangasa was one of the oldest and most dramatic sites in Ireland. It's a massive stone fort built right up against a sheer cliff on the edge of Inishmore. You'll see it in a moment, the cliff. But Dunangasa dates back to the Iron Age, maybe around 500 BC, though parts of it could be even older. And after huffing and puffing all the way to the top, as you can see, I'm getting a little bit winded here. And I even took off a layer. We made it to the top, and it was absolutely sensational. So we'll see which of my family members wants to be in the video at this point. But a lot of people were actually laying right against the cliff. Obviously, there's no railing, no safeguards in place, and people could probably just roll off. Quite dangerous, although beautiful. Just be careful when you visit there.
silhouette of one of these towers can be seen before you, at the southern end of the cliffs. This was a signal tower, built in 1808 to communicate messages with passing ships and other towers along the coast. These messages were relayed by hoisting different coloured flags, which warned of ships' movements in the water. Just 7 years after the tower was built, Napoleon was defeated in the Battle of Waterloo by the...
And just like that, we're back in Galway. And just like that, it's day 3. Back on the left side of the road, and we're driving to the Cliffs of Moher. What a beautiful countryside. Ah, the Cliffs of Moher. So nice, we had to view it twice. So obviously, in one of the previous scenes, we saw it on the boat. And now, from this vantage point, we're seeing it on land. So, an absolute beautiful sight. The O'Brien's Tower was built on top of this land here. Back in the day, it was trying to look out for French ships during the Napoleon era. Never needed to act from this position, but obviously still an awesome view. There's a landmass all the way towards there that you can't really see because I don't really zoom in much, but it's a sea stack. I believe it's pronounced Runanmore. It's tied to stories of ancient gods and drowned warriors. And more recently, the Cliffs of Moher as a whole have been in film, so it may look quite familiar. You might recognize it from Harry Potter, The Princess Bride, and even Star Wars. If you like bird watching, this is the place to be. Bring your binoculars. There are thousands of seabirds at sea level there, including puffins apparently. We weren't able to see one, but legend has it there are plenty of puffins there. It's not every day I'm envious of sheep and cows, but I suppose if every meal looked like this, I wouldn't be complaining. We made a few stops on our way to Dublin after the cliffs, so I believe this is pronounced Púnabrona Dolmen, which is a 5,000-year-old Neolithic portal tomb. Be a really good friend, send a postcard, but they might be convinced that you made this in 45 minutes. And although this looks like a grander site, what we call the Rock of Dunamas, it interestingly has a parking lot that's probably smaller than any town park you ever visited. What remains here are the ruins of a medieval hilltop fortress. This was a major stronghold in the Anglo-Norman period, but was later destroyed in the late 1600s during the Cromwellian Wars. So we zoomed out of the countryside, and in Dublin, we get to zoom to other people as well. So this is the portal. I forgot that this was still a thing. I know they got rid of this in New York because people were acting inappropriately, to say the least. I believe this was Poland. Several different cities are involved. Definitely a very charming concept. I'm so glad they still have it going on.
Let's grab a beer and stand over here. All right.
We are headed towards the Guinness Museum. Ben, what are we gonna do there? What?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
It's the Guinness Storehouse Brewery.
All right.
Tour.
So that's where we're going. Oh, it doesn't work. This one's not magnetic. Oh, this one will be though. All right. That was pretty fun. We got active there for a second. So listen up real quick. Here's how you make Guinness. It starts with barley. Some of it's roasted, and that gives the beer the dark color and the almost coffee-like flavor. Then it's mixed with water. And Guinness is really proud of their water. They pipe it from the Wicklow Mountains, wherever that is. Next comes the hops for a little bitterness, and then yeast, which has been the same strain they've used since the 1700s. Literally, they keep a reserve of it locked up just in case. After fermentation, the beer is conditioned with nitrogen and carbon dioxide, which is why it pours with that slow, creamy cascade. And that head on top, totally intentional. It's part of the design. So yeah, roasted grain, pure water, old yeast, and gas. Then it's all about the pour. The whole process is pretty simple, but then the details are everything.
Make sure you leave enough space for everyone coming after you.
Is it going? Okay.
All right. So
All the way down. All the way down.
Now we can straighten that.
unfortunately, Guinness was not involved in the making of the Book of Kells. We're at Trinity College now at the Book of Kells exhibit. It's this insanely detailed manuscript made by monks over 1,200 years ago, all handwritten, hand illustrated, using natural inks and pigments. It's mostly the four Gospels, but the artwork is what really draws the attention. Some of the designs are microscopic, like these guys were putting down brushstrokes thinner than a modern pen. They don't let you film in the actual display room, but the book is open to one page, under glass, and the lighting is kept really low to preserve it. This is the long room, which is the part everyone takes photos of. It's a 2-story library with floor-to-ceiling wood, arched ceilings, and rows of marble busts. There's over 200,000 old books in here. It smells like an old library. You just had to go see it. What's up, world? Back at it again today. Day 5. Day 5 of our beautiful Ireland adventure. We're not too sure. We're not too sure where to go. I do have to say I've been impressed by the walkability of Dublin, as well as the general feeling that, you know, I'm not going to get hit by a car. We're walking towards the boat trip, little boat tour. Should be about 45 minutes to an hour. And overall, so far I would say for Ireland, unless you have something that you know that you're going to, maybe a maximum of 2 nights, per city or per place in Ireland that you're going to. So maximum of 2 nights in Galway City, maximum of 2 nights in Dublin, and then look elsewhere. Feel like I get the gist of it, and perhaps this was just a little bit. 3 nights in Dublin is a little bit too much for my liking, but you know, nevertheless enjoying the vacation.
Very well. So the Irish were only able to get a very small fire going, and almost immediately the Dublin Fire Brigade was on the scene, hoses through the window, situation under control, and men under arrest. The entire operation had been a failure. What the British didn't count on, however, was that the Dublin Fire Brigade would be somewhat sympathetic to this Dublin mission. And the hoses being brought into that building didn't contain any water, they contained paraffin. When firemen decide to start a fire, they are surprisingly good at it. And this communicate with the crew or captain. You weren't traveling on a crew vessel, we were retrofitted cargo ships. They were gutted and repurposed, and you were locked in the hold for the duration of your vessel stay. Now, today we travel into the newest part of Dublin. I call it new.
Oh my god, my hair is messy. Just off that boat right there. Nice little tour, about 45 minutes. It's really almost like a ritual to go on the Chicago boat tour. One of the most famous buildings in Chicago is the Salesforce building, and it seems like when you go on that tour, the tour guide will point out the Salesforce building. Everyone, this is a well-known, nice-looking building. You could even call it iconic, right? However, here it seems like tour guide had quite the negative slant towards commercialism and big corporations, citing that corporations are only really here, not really for the people, not to employ the Irish people, but to take advantage of the 0% corporate tax that they might have here. Go to Chicago, they'll talk really positively about the Salesforce building. If you go here, they'll just point it out and say, it's part of your commercialism of Ireland. And that is all she wrote. We are finished here. Thank you so much if you made it this far into the video. I took a little stroll back to the hotel. We stayed at the Holiday Inn. Would highly recommend if you are in Dublin to stay there. Nice place. I also wanted to highlight some of the public transport options that we did not take, but it looked really nice. The buses, the tram. Go to Ireland. You won't regret it. I had a nice time. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks.